back into the ring for another promo from MJF, and he started his entrance by going over to the announce desk, taking a cup of water, and throwing it at Tony Schiavone, and just an absolutely fantastic move. He then eventually goes down to the ring and starts his actual promo by insulting both his future opponents and the people of Las Vegas before starting to talk about the homegrown AEW wrestlers, saying that between the four of them, him and the other three men in the title match on Sunday, you won't find any more homegrown wrestlers in the entire company, which makes their match the most important match in AEW history. But unfortunately for us, Max is getting bored of AEW, the lack of competition, and the lackluster and incompetent management. So he might just leave. And Tony Khan knows his contract is coming up. So it's no coincidence that he is in a four-way match for the title on Sunday. But when he does win that match, he might just take his ball and go home because, well, yeah, he has a flight booked out of Las Vegas because Dynamite's not there. It's probably booked for, Sunday night. Anyway, he's not only earned that ball, MJF has, it's his ball, and he's been running with it faster than anyone. Darby Allin, then comes out and once again tells a story about him, getting to AEW and living in his car in Atlanta and all the stuff like that. And that's why it's such a great company because, he was able to help him figure his life out and lets him be him and do awesome things like skateboard with Tony Hawk and jump cars with Travis Pastrana or climb Mount Everest next year, which is something he always wanted to do and something that MJF had taken a pot shot at earlier in his promo. Because of all that, Darby wants to become the new face of AEW, and in order to do so, he needs to take the title off of MJF, and he might even do it with a headlock takeover. MJF takes all of this in consideration and makes the big grandiose message of kicking Darby straight in the dick. Darby goes down. MJF starts lining him up to hit him with the Dynamite Diamond Ring. When Sammy Guevara's music hits, he comes running down for the save. MJF just hightails it out of there, runs up the ramp, where he meets Jungle Boy, who takes him out and then is able to raise the title in front of the other two guys. Now, James, I made the comment earlier that I thought Darby's promo was a little, repetitive from what we've seen in recent weeks. And I think perhaps the beginning of it was, him once again telling the story about leaving Seattle and leaving his car and stuff like that. But the back half of what he said was different and cool. And I did like that. And, MJF, as he tends to do, he hit his notes tonight, but I think he did a really good job selling this match in general.
No, I completely agree. It was a little repetitive. That's fine. I'm not going to deny that. But there's something about Darby's development these last few weeks. His first promo when the four of them were in the ring together, I thought Darby was going to have a panic attack. That's how it felt. He was huffing and puffing. He did not look comfortable holding the microphone. And then tonight, it was a complete shift. He felt confident. He felt strong. He felt powerful. And I loved seeing that from him.
Because he had his stilts, that's why.
If I could live in a world where Seth Rollins wears what he wears, I can watch Darby Allin wear those shoes. It's not a big deal. But I thought Darby showed all the confidence someone in his position should have had all along, and I'm happy to see it. And he did something that I liked. It's not, I want to be champion. It's not, I want this and I want that. It's, I want to represent AEW. I want to showcase what this place is, and I can only do that with this belt. I thought that was, again, we talked a lot about growth tonight. That's a lot of growth for Darby. When he became TNT champion, it was about proving himself. It was about beating Cody. It was about trying to prove what a dominant champion he could be, despite how different he was. Now, him wanting to win the world title is about trying to pay it back to AEW and for all the support they've given him. I think that's a great character arc for him, and of the four guys, he's the guy I would want to win the most, even though I know he's not going to. But he's the guy I'll be cheering for on Sunday.
I do think he's earned, if they do some sort of like a special night in between Sunday and the next pay-per-view, he definitely deserves like a one-on-one.
Yeah, I agree.
MJF.
The only reason I wouldn't want it is because I wouldn't want to see him lose to MJF again.
Right. Yeah.
But no, I do agree with you. He had and I do got to say, even Sammy has proven it. The only person, in my opinion, who has not shined is Jungle Boy. Sammy did a great job with the goofy, slapsticky stuff that he was doing with MJF in the beginning. He's the only guy of the trio that could have done it with MJF. And he's been getting the support from the crowd, even though you can tell they don't want to. He's too charming not to, even though he's got that face.
Sammy does make a good baby face, man. I know we want to punch him in the face, and obviously his out of the ring things have unfortunately infiltrated his on-screen character, but he was a very good baby face, back in the Jericho back in the Inner Circle days. People fucking loved him. So he can do it. I think you're right. I think that Jungle Boy has come off a little worse for wear out of the other, out of the three guys who are challenging MJF here. And I don't know, I don't want to say hinting, but are we like going towards a Jungle Boy heel turn here just because he's looked so bad against these two other guys who, one being an actual face, the other one at least playing one on TV?
I think similar to what James was saying before, where they've kind of gone with the flow and just turned people when they need to be turned and vice versa. I feel like it's probably the move for Jungle Boy. I don't know how you do it, but if they're,
I don't know.
I think it's kind of necessary for him for the audience to not. They're going to turn on him anyway, I feel like. And then on the other hand, if he turns heel, he could probably learn a lot more on the mic and whatnot. I think it gives him more of an opportunity to just get better if he's a heel, as opposed to forcing him as a face on everyone.
I completely agree. I don't necessarily see him like in our comments. I think it was it. I don't necessarily think Jungle Boy is going to help MJF retain, but I like I said, I think he's taking the pin, and I think that's going to set him spiraling.
Oh, that would be interesting if maybe they do that Darby match, that one-on-one with MJF in between the two pay-per-views, and Jungle Boy is the one that screws over Darby, so they can do their own feud and kind of practice off of each other.
I could see that. Afterwards, definitely.
Yeah, or maybe it just happens in the match where Jungle Boy screws Darby, and then it ends up being Sammy taking a pin. And then you end up with that feud with Darby and Jungle Boy, MJF is able to retain just because those other two take each other out.
That's possible too, but I've never liked the trope of someone turning heel and then costing themselves the title. Like, I would rather hit you and walk away than win the title. I've never been a fan of that.
Yeah, no, that's fair. But I mean, look, it's weird because I don't think they're forcing a face Jungle Boy onto us, Eric, because he's still over his shit. Like, he really is. People love him. They love the song, and
I think
it's fine. It's just I think he is getting stale at a certain point. He's kind of seemingly done everything he can, from what I can see, as a face, unless you want to give him a title face run. But
he's just too much of a white meat baby face. Like, against Christian, it kind of worked because I feel like Christian worked with him to be like, hey, this is what you should say against me here while we're, I mean, but also I guess MJ, I don't know.
But I think it's worked more often than not as him being a white meat babyface, because you see that growth when he and Christian and Luchasaurus were taking on Adam Cole and the Undisputed Elite guys. You see that he is a good person and he's not that bad guy. And it worked. It was good storytelling there. The problem is he doesn't have certain skills to back up being that character. To go over to WWE, Cody Rhodes is a white meat babyface.
Right.
He's got the mic skills to support that.
It might just be, I don't think Jungle Boy should be alone right now.
Yeah, no, that I agree with.
Which is kind of why I mentioned I don't like how they changed it. I know it's always been his name because like JR would always try to throw it in there for eventually just like, but I think they're just, he's super young. I think they could have waited. Like he could have just stretched out the Jungle Boy thing for a year or two more than he already has, and then eventually become the leather jacket, badass that they're trying to create.
What's the promise that's going on in our chat right now?
Hopefully, maybe that we promise that he'll turn heel, which I don't think I can promise. But I think the biggest problem with him is, he ever since his split from Christian and Luchasaurus, and then his subsequent, defeat of them, his goal has been to get a singles title, and he's been unable to do so. And if he continues down that path of not being able to win a singles title, then perhaps that eventually is what leads him to turn heel. So I think that's how you do it personally. But, I don't know. We'll see where all that goes. And obviously we'll talk about it a lot more in our Double or Nothing prediction show. So be on the lookout for that.